You ever feel like life's whispering, "It's time"? That's the whisper I followed. From the city lights of Atlanta to the soul-stretching skies of Auckland, welcome to Being, the podcast where bold moves meet deep truths. I'm Shea Love, and each week I'm sharing the messy, the magical, and meaningful moments that come with starting over and stepping fully into who you are. What if loneliness wasn't something to run from, but something to listen to? What if that moment when you feel like everything is unraveling is actually when something beautiful is taking shape? This episode is about what happens after the leap, when the adrenaline fades and silence settles in. Sometimes the moment you feel most alone is the moment loneliness becomes the doorway to deeper connection, within and all around you. There is a certain adrenaline that comes with leaving what you know, the high of new beginnings, the thrill of reinvention. And when I first left Atlanta for Auckland, that's what I was riding on: momentum, excitement, curiosity, and purpose. I was moving forward into the unknown with vision. I had just made the biggest leap of my entire life, and from the outside, it looked pretty brave. But here's what no one really talks about.
You can't see it. You can't look at it. Someone can seem very happy and be the most outgoing person, but inwardly might be struggling with this sense of feeling lonely.
What it feels like when the adrenaline wears off and the silence settles in. When you look around and realize that every face, every street, every sound is unfamiliar. When the people who know your laugh, your history, your heart, they aren't there. That's when loneliness creeps in.
There's a common misconception that loneliness is just about being physically alone. So for example, I'm here physically alone, but I don't have the inward, deeper sense of loneliness. And that's the key right there. Loneliness is not about being by yourself. It's not being physically alone. It's about the gap that exists between your social personal connection, the one that you have, the ones that you have, and the connection that you really deeply desire. So that's that difference. The gap between them is that real sense of loneliness. And you can be in a room full of people. You can have friends you see all the time. You go to dinner or you hang out all the time and still personally feel a deep sense of loneliness internally. And that's because you might be craving a different kind of connection. Maybe it's a deeper connection. Maybe it's an intimate one. Maybe it's a kind of connection, for example, that you might have with a mother or a father that you don't have. It is about the difference between the connections that you have and the ones that you deeply desire.
On this particular day, it all came rushing in. It happened so randomly. I was actually walking down the street past a restaurant on K Road in Auckland, headed to pick up a new microphone for the podcast. And that's when I felt it. This wave of loneliness. It came crashing in and it hit me. It felt like a ball of emotion lodged in your chest, tight, heavy, impossible to swallow, and undoing like all the parts that hold you together suddenly slip out of place. A yearning for something familiar, a face, a hug, a voice that doesn't require explanation. It was a full body homesickness, not for a place, but for connection. I started crying profusely. And let me just tell you, it was the kind of cry that contorts your whole face. You know, the real ugly cry. I mean, real ugly cry right there in public, on the street. I felt completely unglued, so unglued that I almost turned to a random woman walking past to ask, "Can I have a hug?" That's how raw I was. I didn't ask though, although I think she might have inclined. And then at that exact moment, one of my friends video called me. He had no idea what was going on, but just hearing his voice, it grounded me. It didn't fix everything, but it reminded me that I wasn't alone. I was connected. If I'm being honest, I've felt this feeling before, even in Atlanta, even in a space where you would assume connection. Amidst all the activity, hustle, and bustle, I often felt the weight of invisibility, being seen but not felt, surrounded but not held. That Sunday, I decided to go for a walk. And on the way back to my apartment, as I was walking down the street again on K Road, I noticed a church. Actually, it was two churches. They were in the same office building, and they were connected only by a wall. Now, at first, I passed right by, but something pulled me. Go back. So I did. There were two doors that led to each church, one on the left and one on the right. And I don't know why, but I chose the door on the left. I don't know, maybe the song, to the left, to the left. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was divine design. When I entered, they were already singing. The songs were unfamiliar at first, different rhythms, different voices. But then I heard something I recognized. It had a different melody, but the same words, same spirit, same stirring. And in that moment, something in me softened. Somehow in the middle of a city still new to me, walking down the street in a church I almost walked past, I felt connected to the music, to the spirit, and just like that, loneliness loosened its grip. Okay, but I'm not even done yet because what came next, wow. So the pastor's son got up and he started talking about loneliness. He told the story of how Jesus was alone in the wilderness, being tempted, being tested, being asked to prove his strength. He went on to talk about how in the Bible there's often a rhythm of this, then this, a healing, then a trial, a breakthrough, then a storm. It's not always linear. Sometimes the sequence is unclear. Sometimes it's this, then that, then this, and then this again. And it hit me. That's life. That's being. Sometimes it's this, then this again. And not because you're going in circles, but because you're being shaped in layers, refined with each return. This reminded me that even in unfamiliar places, when the adrenaline wears off and the silence settles in, you're not alone. God will send you reminders, little winks, little nudges that say, you're not lost, you're just in between. Loneliness doesn't mean you're off the path, because the road less traveled, that's the one where transformation lives. That's the one that strips you of certainty and floods you with clarity. That's the one where faith becomes more than a word. It becomes a way. Now, I'll have to admit there's something tender, even sacred, about the fact that both of these moments of loneliness happen on a street, a pathway. Crying on the street doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you're human. And turning around to choose the door on the left doesn't mean you're lost or unsure. It means you're listening. It means you're brave enough to feel. There's something beautiful in those messy, unfiltered moments where we finally slow down enough to feel. And in the slowing down, we start to hear again, not the noise, but the whispers. The ones that say, keep going. You're not alone. Even here, I'm with you. You've been listening to Being from Atlanta to Auckland. I'm Shea Love, and if this episode made you feel seen, maybe it sparked something deep or reminded you that change is possible, go ahead and follow, subscribe, and send it to a friend. This journey is just starting. Keep stretching, keep rising, and always keep being.